our need to control it and predict it is what keeps the universe from contributing to us something that we can't even fathom. And how many of you listening, watching, are like, I know I'm magic, help. Well, that's why personally I create every single thing I do, including today, which is you are magic. What would you have to choose and acknowledge? What would you have to change, and what would you have to let go of to allow yourself to know that, to perceive that, to receive that, to get to be that? You know, the original meaning of weird was of spirit, fate, or destiny. So when somebody says you're weird, be like, oh, thanks for the acknowledgement. You know, thumbs up. And they're like, it wasn't a compliment. You're like, well, if you knew what it means, it actually is. First thing is to recognize that judgment is always a lie designed to diminish us. And yet we will buy that rather than allowing ourselves to have the gift of the lightness that occurs when we're choosing what's true for us without judgment. So another access tool. We have so many tools in access. And they're all for you to have for you. They're not about access. They're about you living your life, being able to create your life in the trenches of life, okay? So one is what's true for you always makes you lighter. A lie always makes you heavier. And so when you're functioning from what's true for you, it's got this sense of the lightness that we remember and know we should have. And it's what we have been conditioned to believe we're wrong for. In other words, we believe we're wrong if we don't struggle enough. We've been told we're wrong. We've been made, like, think about when you're a little kid or a younger person than today, anytime, where something came easy to you and people made you wrong for it. Or people thought you were cheating. You know, like for me, I would not go to school. I mean, I would go to school. Sorry, in high school, I would go to school. But subsequently, I would not. And I would not study, and I would get straight A's. And there was one time where they were like, you're cheating. And I'm like, who am I cheating off of? Like, there's nobody around here who's giving me the answers. And I was like, no, I'm just really lucky. Sorry. You know? And
Yeah.
so how much have you tried to prove to the world that you're not lucky, that things don't work better for you than they do for other people, that they're not easier, as though somehow, because you've been made wrong for it being easier for you than it's supposed to be your entire life. Now, some of you are like, it's harder for me. I know, I had the same point of view. You only make it harder for you when you've been made wrong for it being easier for you. And then you're like, oh, it'll be easier for me to be around other people if I make it harder for me, because that's what people expect. That's what people will feel a connection to. And then they won't think I'm greater than them and have more stuff and more ease than them. So I'll make it more difficult. So this tool I want to definitely emphasize again. All of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory. And glory is exuberant expression and abundance. All of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory. All of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory. Use it at least 10 times in the morning, 10 times in the evening, and your life will literally begin to change. And if you don't understand why or how, I totally get that. I didn't either. But when I came to Access 26 years ago, I was in so much suffering that I was willing to try anything. And it's interesting that people think they need to get to a level of suffering before they'll try anything and let it work. But some people have to get there. I was apparently one of those at the time. And but this, and on my Instagram and on YouTube, I did a 30-day challenge where we went through all of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory at least 100 times a day. And it was so beautiful to see what people got. In fact, it was so beautiful. I think I'll be doing it again, because it was like, oh my God, like thousands of us around the world just being there for this presence of all of life. Not only good things happen to me, because that ain't going to happen. Shit happens for all of us, okay? But when you look from a different place, it's not shit. It's like, it doesn't have to look like the yuck that somebody else standing next to you who's not willing to have all of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory might look at it as. And so it's so glorious to have, and it's kind of like this, the Being You Day. And by the way, while we're Being You Day-ing, I'm doing something called ESB, Energetic Synthesis of Being, which is actually the basis of the Being You book. And what happened was 26 years ago, Gary Douglas, the founder of Access, came into my office and asked for a session. I was a chiropractor. And he was like, you need to go straight to the furthest level of this. And I had no idea how to do that. He's like, ask my body what it wants, follow the energy, you'll know what to do. There was an energy, a space, a beautiful something that came through that I still have no ability to describe. But now I call it ESB, energetic synthesis of being. And it's an energetic mojo way of contributing to people and things that when I do it, it just starts melting the no's in your world into yes is a possibility. And so sounds weird, but I'm doing that the whole time here because I words are can be very helpful, and yet if you can have an expansion into a universe of something different, that's way more us and way more fun. And that's you. If you're watching this right now, by the way, thanks for being here. Nice to have you as part of International Being You Day. That's really what all of this is about and for, is the sweetness of being alive and the gift of being alive that's possible for you too. And the weird part is that's way more energetic than it is verbal. It's way more energetic than it is thinking wise. But that's also us. So all of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory. 10 times in the morning, 10 times in the evening. But if it starts to become a mantra for you that you just have running through your head, it pushes the hamster over. There is no longer
Yeah.
any hamster if you use all of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory. But once again, you got to do it. It's these tools. We live in a weird world in which people think that they will get the. It's like if I say, hey, why don't you use all of life comes to you with ease and joy and glory 10 times in the morning, 10 times in the evening, or like with the 30-day challenge 100 times a day. People think that if they think about doing it, then they will get the result of it. It doesn't work. You got to do this. You got to actually do it. It's like if you think about working out, your body doesn't change. And you also have to be the one willing to receive something different, not on a level you can understand or predict or control. Because
Yeah.
our need to control it and predict it is what keeps the universe from contributing to us something that we can't even fathom. And how many of you listening, watching, are like, I know I'm magic, help. Well, that's why personally I create every single thing I do, including today, which is you are magic. Now, what would you have to choose and acknowledge? What would you have to change and what would you have to let go of to allow yourself to know that, to perceive that, to receive that, to get to be that? How often does your life feel like there is someone and something working against you? And you're like, but I do my best. I'm trying to be the best person I can, but I always feel like I'm the person everybody else is mean to. I'm the person who can't create the money. I'm the person who can't create the this. Well, what if you no longer had to give credence to anything that wants to work against you? And what if you were like, you know what? I'm going to actually stop believing in any part of my body or being that I am wrong, that I am less, that I have ever done anything wrong, and recognize that the only thing I've ever desired to do is to contribute to everyone. And I'm going to acknowledge today, starting right now, that is a gift, and that is a gift of me. And that is something I can be grateful for about me. That is something I can value about myself. That is something I can recognize as true because it makes me lighter. I wish somebody else had been talking about it, but I guess I had to get to Being You Day 2026 to acknowledge it. But as of today, I am no longer buying the lie that I am somehow a bad, terrible, vicious, mean, awful person. Enough. Yes? And I would also invite you to that possibility. Not actually giving a shit about people's judgments about you. And not from resistance, not like, I don't care about your judgment. You're wrong and I hate you, but I don't care. No. What I'm talking about is it's okay if you need to judge me. Yeah, it's all right. I I don't I don't have a judgment of your judgment. He's all right. I understand you got to do what you got to do to hold in place what you need to or resist what you need to. Totally okay. You're not wrong. I'm not wrong. We're not wrong. But if you're judging me, I will never buy your point of view as valuable. I will acknowledge how limiting that is, and I'm not going to choose to buy into the limitation. But I will always know that you have another choice, and I will never judge you for judging me. What if that could be your point of view? And that's really, once again, here's another example, or that energy is really an example of us being us. And, I would love to say that I've been this my whole life. Oh no. I used to have such a problem with being judged because I wanted us all to get along. I wanted to love everybody, and I thought they're judging me, then they didn't receive that I was loving them, and then they wouldn't be loving, and then like blah, 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 blah. We have all these things, right? But I realized that judgment is not the relevance that we've made it, whether it's us or somebody else.